Okay, so when you hear the word fear, what immediately comes to mind? For a lot of us, right, it's probably images of, I don't know, dread, maybe anxiety, or just plain terror. And then what about the phrase fear of the Lord? Does that conjure up something similar, like maybe cowering or thinking of some distant, angry figure? Well, today we're actually going to do a deep dive that might just challenge those assumptions. We're looking into the true meaning of fear within biblical faith. We're using some sources here, excerpts from a discussion called The Fear of the Lord, Awe, Not Terror. And they really push back. They suggest it's less about that trembling, scared feeling and much, much more about this kind of awe, reverence. It's a totally different type of fear than we normally picture.
Yeah, and right away you hit this kind of paradox, don't you? Our sources, they bring up this really profound point from Proverbs 9.10. It says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding." Just think about that for a moment, you, our listener. How can something we call fear be the start? The very beginning of wisdom. You'd think it might hinder joy or understanding, right? Not kickstart it. It seems almost contradictory at first blush. So that's really our mission for this deep dive. We want to unpack that apparent contradiction. We're aiming to move past that surface level idea, and discover how this fear of the Lord, well, it doesn't lead to being distant or filled with dread. Surprisingly, it seems to lead towards intimacy, real understanding, and even delight.
Yeah, delight. So we'll dig into the original language a bit, specifically that Hebrew word yirah. And we'll look at some powerful examples from Scripture, see if we can unlock these surprising nuggets of knowledge.
That is fascinating because that common idea of fear is just so strong, isn't it?
Yeah.
But our sources are saying, no, there's this completely different angle. Tell us a bit more about that Hebrew word you mentioned, yirah. How does that word itself help us reframe this away from just terror?
Right, exactly. Yirah, it's key. See, in Hebrew, that word has a much wider meaning than our English word fear usually implies. It's not primarily about panic or being terrified. It leans much more towards a profound sense of awe, reverence, respect. Think about like standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon maybe, or watching the Northern Lights. There's that sense of smallness, sure, but it's mixed with wonder, immense appreciation for something truly magnificent, powerful, and implies recognizing the sheer weight and glory of something, well, immense. Ah, okay. That's a really helpful distinction. So it's not being scared of God in a way that makes you want to run and hide. It's more like holding God in such incredibly high esteem, such reverence, that it changes how you stand before him, how you relate to him. And I guess that kind of fear, that awe, it would lead to totally different results than, say, just being afraid of getting punished or worrying about what other people think of you.
Precisely. That's a crucial difference. This fear of God, this yirah, it's completely distinct from fearing people or just fearing consequences. It's not really driven by anxiety about what might happen to you. It's driven by this deep respect that actually shapes how you live, how you choose to act. If you think about it, it's a posture of reverent obedience, kind of like how Jesus related to the Father, right? He certainly wasn't living in dread, not at all. His profound reverence for the Father was what drove his actions, not some kind of crippling anxiety. That makes so much sense. And if it really is about reverence and awe, well, then that actually opens the door for deeper connection, doesn't it? It flips the script on fear. Our sources mention this too, that this specific kind of fear, this awe, it leads to intimacy, not distance, which is so counterintuitive to how we normally think about fear. But I guess if you deeply respect and revere someone, you naturally want to be closer, right?
Yeah.
To understand them better, to honor them. It's not about shrinking away.
It's quite the opposite, actually. And this leads to thinking about, well, how did this play out for people in the Bible? Our sources point to figures like Moses, Isaiah, and Mary, really compelling examples. Think about Moses at the burning bush or on Mount Sinai. There was definitely a recognition of God's immense power, sure, who wouldn't be overwhelmed. But it was also this deep reverence that led him into conversation, into leadership. He didn't just flee in terror, he actually drew closer.
Right. He talked with God.
Exactly. And Isaiah's vision in the temple, he sees God in his holiness, feels totally unworthy. Woe is me. But then what happens next? He responds, "Here am I, send me." His awe doesn't paralyze him. It leads to a call, to service, to intimacy and purpose.
Wow.
And Mary, too. Think about her response to the angel. Overwhelming news, right? A unique, probably terrifying calling in some ways. But her response, that humble acceptance, it seems born out of reverence and deep trust. And it led her into this incredibly intimate role in God's plan. These aren't really moments defined by crippling fear. They're moments of profound reverence leading to obedience, response, and ultimately deeper connection.
Okay, so bringing this whole together,
Yeah.
what does this mean for us listening right now? This deep dive has really shifted, I think, how we might understand a really core concept. This fear of the Lord, it's not about being scared of God like in a horror movie. It's this profound reverent awe, recognizing his holiness, his majesty, in a way that actually, surprisingly, draws us closer. That Hebrew word, yirah, really helps. It captures that sense of awe, not panic.
Yes.
That feels like a game changer.
Absolutely. And when you place this understanding back into, the bigger picture of spiritual life, this type of fear, this yirah, it stands apart from worrying about what people think or just trying to avoid punishment. It becomes a posture of reverent obedience. Like we said, echoing Jesus's own relationship with the Father. It leads towards intimacy, not away from it. And remember Isaiah 11, verses 2 and 3, it says, the Messiah, filled with the Spirit, will delight in the fear of the Lord. Delight. That's not trembling withdrawal, is it? It sounds like an active, even joyful engagement rooted in that deep reverence.
So for you, our listener, just pause and consider this. How might this understanding, this more nuanced view of fear, impact how you see wisdom, or how you experience joy, or even how you approach avoiding actions you know aren't right? And sort of reframes the whole idea of spiritual growth, doesn't it? What it means to really understand and relate to God.
And maybe here's a final thought to chew on, something provocative perhaps. Exodus 20:20. God has just given the 10 commandments. There's thunder and lightning. The people are afraid. Moses says, do not be afraid. Okay, standard fear. But then he says, God has come to test you so that the fear of God will be with you to keep you from sinning. Wait, fear again. But this time, it's the yirah kind. So the question is, how might embracing this kind of fear, this awe-filled reverence as the actual beginning of wisdom, how might that transform not just how you approach spiritual understanding, but also how you cultivate joy day to day, how you navigate those really tough choices? Could it be that this kind of profound fear, this deep awe, might actually empower you rather than limit you? Something to think about.